What's up everybody, Jason coming back to you today with a gear review video. And before I get started, I just want to apologize for any of the extra noises. I got my AC unit running behind you. I got people on that side weed eating and mowing and stuff. I got somebody on this side working on a car, people behind me working on their house. So I apologize for any noises. Today I'm coming to you to do a review / comparison of the Ruckus alcohol stove. That is the repurposed ultralight compact alcohol stove, and I'm going to be comparing that to the Bud Light stove, which I'm sure most of you guys have heard of or maybe even have. And just one thing that you notice right off the bat is just the size difference in the two stoves. Here's the Ruckus, here's obviously the Bud Light stove. Quite a bit of a size difference, and the Ruckus stove is actually a little bit bigger around than the Bud Light stove, but not much. The main difference is the height. The Bud Light stove is a lot taller, and honestly, if you have both of them in your hand, the build quality of the Ruckus stove is so much better. One thing that I actually noticed today is up near the burners on the Bud Light stove, if you squeeze, they bend in just like that. And with the Ruckus stove, I consider nothing. There's so much more of a quality difference in the two stoves. Another thing to notice is also if you look at the roll on the stove, this one's I mean, you can just see that it's not a very quality roll. And then when you compare that to the Ruckus, I mean, it's almost like it was just machined this way, like it just wasn't done at your house. I really like it. The only problem that I originally had is when I first used the Ruckus stove, when I put my pot on top, it would condensate and it would drip kind of almost like little fireballs off the side. And I was kind of concerned about that, so I got a hold of the guy that makes Ruckus stoves, and he messaged me back and, you know, kind of explained to me what was going on. But I was a little concerned because I never had that with the Bud Light stove. And, you know, ever since I've just started using like a prime pan, or even if you put foil under it, you know, it takes care of that issue. Which, I mean, realistically, you should be doing something like that anyhow. You know, you shouldn't just be having a hot alcohol stove sitting on dry pine needles or leaves or something like that could possibly catch on fire anyhow. So just kind of do your due diligence and use common sense when using an alcohol stove. And I'll get into the weight of the stoves, and then we'll go do a boil test on them, and, you know, just kind of give you a little, you know, info on maybe if you're thinking about the Ruckus stove, or maybe it's something that you've not heard of, and maybe it's something that you might be willing to try, you know, or interested in. So just stick around and we'll get into the weight, and then we'll go in and we'll boil some water. The stove, we'll start out with the Bud Light stove. We're at 1 1/4 ounces on the Bud Light stove, or 35 grams. Now for the Ruckus stove, we're at 1 3/8 ounces, or 40 grams. So as you can see, the Ruckus stove is just slightly heavier than the Bud Light stove, but you also got to take into consideration the better quality build on the Ruckus stove than the Bud Light stove. So you'll just have to figure out what's best for you. Alright, before we get into the boil test, I just want to put out there that I am using 12 ounces of water for my boil test. And the reason I'm doing that is because I personally use 1 1/2 cups of water, or 12 ounces. I don't do the traditional 2-cup boil test because I don't use 2 cups of water. I usually, you know, buy the Mountain Houses and I split them up, or, you know, I'll buy the Pro Packs or something like that. And the meals that I do not require 2 cups of water. So if you do require 2 cups of water, just keep that in mind, that your boil time will obviously be probably a little bit longer. And I also want to point out that I'm putting 1 ounce of denatured alcohol into each stove, and I'm not going to use a priming pan. I'm just going to light them and let them bloom, and then put the pots on. And I'm sure you know, but you should use a priming pan because you can cut down your bloom time to probably about 20 seconds versus, a minute or better. And on the Bud Light stove, I am going to be using the GSI Halulite Minimalist pot. And on the Ruckus stove, I'm going to be using my new Batch Stoves 12-ounce cook pot. I just got this in a couple days ago, and like an idiot, I forgot to order a lid for it. So I had to get on there and order a lid for it, and I won't have that till probably Tuesday. So I'm just going to have to use something to act as a lid for this test. So just keep in mind that there are lots of variables that affect boil times, water temperature, if you're indoors or outdoors, just stuff like that to keep in mind, that your boil times may vary substantially, or they might even be better. Alright, as you can see, we're at almost a minute and neither one of them has bloomed yet. Bud Light stove looks like it's getting ready to start blooming. Alright, Bud Light stove is going. Ruckus stove is starting to bloom now. Sorry, I just realized I had the lid upside down on the GSI pot. The way I had it was for drinking. Starting to get some bubbles in the batch stove. The Bud Light stove looks like it's getting ready to boil. And we got a boil on the Bud Light stove. Just got some bubbles there, not quite a boil yet. It's getting ready to anytime. And we're at a boil. See how long they run for. Back my phone up. And they are both officially out. Just a little over 8 minutes from initial lighting time. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I don't know about you, but I'm pretty surprised about the results of that. I figured in, fuel efficiency and boil time, I really expected the Rucka stove to just completely outclass the Bud Light stove. And that wasn't the case. I mean, actually the Bud Light stove boiled water a little bit faster than the Rucka stove, and it even lasted longer than the Rucka stove. Not by much, they were pretty neck and neck, but in the end, it kind of comes down to, durability, pack size, and weight. And I have those things with the Rucka stove. Granted, it is 5 grams heavier than the Bud Light stove, but just having the peace of mind of durability and just the pack size of it, I'll deal with the 5 grams. hopefully this video was informative for you guys and kind of gave you a look into some of the options for alcohol stoves. And doing a new video every Sunday. I have a Red River Gorge trip planned coming up June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Be bringing you a full-length video on that. Should be a great time. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know and I will get back to you. So until next time, hope to see you on the trail.